At midnight. Adhachi kar gavra. At that point, the rooster crowed. Brichu bechasa. They interrupted their study to make a blessing. There's a blessing that we say in the morning, Hanosin l'sechvi vina lahavchem b'yam v'lala, that God gives the rooster awareness, understanding to differentiate between day and night. Today we say all the morning prayers in one shot, but originally the Talmud's time they would say each prayer with the occurrence of that event. So when the rooster would crow, they'd say the blessing. When they'd put on their clothing, there's certain everything that you have, you'd get up. There's a blessing, God that I can get that God releases the bound, that He makes the earth firm above the water. Each thing you do. You're thankful. You open up your eyes, right? Pokeach Ivrim, that he gives sight to the blind. So the ideal way to do it is you bless it as they occur.
So that's the present moment.
It's kavod, yeah. Anyway, so that's what happens. So the rooster crows. They make the blessing that God gives this understanding to the rooster. And Amar le Rabbi Elazar. Hasha huzimna de kuchurichu all begins to the Eden l'shashay and Sinkaya. Now at this time, meaning this time around midnight, it's about to be midnight. This is the moment that the Holy One, blessed be He, goes into Gan Eden, descends into the Garden of Eden, where the souls are, and the reason why He goes into the Garden of Eden is to play, to take delight with the souls that are there. Amar le Rabbi Yossi, that's Rabbi Elazar was saying that. Rabbi Yossi responds and asks, Amay mishasheh kuchubricho. What do you mean? You understand a father or a mother plays with a child, but what does it mean God plays? What does that do? God has to play with the soul. What does that mean? So Bacha Rabbi Elazar wept. V'amar, and he said, he responded to Rabbi Yossi's question. Tachaze, come and see. Ad hashta kuchubrichu is daza plas mea v'sishin rikin v'batashbro. In the beginning of the evening, up until now, up until midnight, God is, so to speak, shaking and trembling because of this tremendous judgment in the world. And therefore 390 universes or firmaments, and he's like banging into them in order. That's actually the 390 is the same numerical equivalent as Shomayim. Shin is 300. Mem, Yud, Mem is 40, 10 and 40, 390.
Are these universes or galaxies or?
These are mystical realms.
Mystical what?
Mystical realms. They're rakia. A rakia means a firmament. It's some level.
Included one bigger one?
What?
Mystical realms.
They're like a nest of different rings of these mystical realms. I don't know. It's a metaphor.
As part of an infinite.
It's not a dove shabakashmi. It's not a.
No.
It's
a spiritual.
Spiritual.
Then the infinite.
But speaking in
giving a number, it has to do with spheros and things. Ubacha al churban bei mikdasha. God is crying. It's really the Shechina. The Shechina is gematria. Also, Hashchina is gematria 390, and God is crying on the destruction of His home. In other words, He's upset. He had a place, a sanctuary, where He was able to have His Iker Shechina, His primary dwelling place. That was destroyed. The reason why it was destroyed is because there was an alienation between the masculine and feminine aspects of the divine.
How's that?
They had a fight.
What do you mean alienation? It's with the Jews that it's the Gimel Virus, the three cardinals.
When God said male or
They did a virus. So what is it? I don't understand. How does that relate to the spiritual
it's more
realm?
like one, is it not? Not just one or the other, but both at the same time. So it's beyond this idea of opposite value, and it becomes one thing.
There's two aspects of God. There's God that's the transcendent, which is, and there's God that's the immanent. There's the God that we believe in but don't quite feel, don't understand. And there's the God of our understanding that we experience. The second is the Shekhinah. The Shekhinah is here in the world, and it's able to be at home in this world. And when the Shekhinah is somewhat aligned with the Kutshabricha, with the Holy One, blessed be He, so that means that the appearance of the way God appears and what we have faith in are more aligned. For example, if somebody's told something about, if somebody's experience of God differs vastly from what they were told to believe of God, right?
The two different quantities, experience.
Because
Belief, there's no picture, there's no form.
It's about association.
He's infinite and
but their
and so
experience,
spirituality.
but
feel something.
experience is very important. So if somebody is told, for example, the Torah says you have to treat people a certain way, and their experience is the opposite of that. You know, they're mistreated, their own parents mistreat them, or so on and so forth. There's crime, and there's a lack of security. So that person, their experience of justice and love become skewed, so there's an alienation then between the way it should be and the way it is. And the more and more that happens, so it's the same thing. It says that the temple was destroyed because of three, big sins, or sinas
That's
chinam,
what it's second.
hatred. As when we alienate from these aspects of the masculine and feminine aspects of God, when you alienate the physical from the spiritual, that's one other way of looking at it. So all these things lead to kind of the destruction of this idea of the unity, and the physical manifestation of that destruction is the destruction of the temple. And what do you do when you're missing something that you want? You cry for it. You cry over its loss. You mourn. So the first part of the night, God is mourning over the destruction of the loss of the temple, the loss of His home, the loss of His resting place. That's what He wanted. He wanted to have a place to be. And He cries, "Va'orid train dimayin l'gayam rabba," and two big tears. Metaphor again. They descend into the great ocean, the great depth. Because judgment comes both from gvura, which is severity, and hod, which is usually translated as empathy. And the Yam HaGadol, this great ocean, is Malchus, is some aspect of Malchus, where when the tears descend into this ocean, it somehow sweetens the tears, or the tears sweeten the ocean. The idea of the crying is that the crying somehow fixes this severity. And then when and because of the tears, he remembers his descendants and awakens his aspect of mercy towards them. Begin to L'tlas Sitrin Nispalig Laila. Because if you look at the night, we can divide the night into three watches. In Gemara and Brachos, it says Gimel Ashmoros. There are three watches, which means three divisions, three sections of the night. You divide. You take a night. You say it's a 12-hour night, kind of like what we have now. Spring.
Equinox.
Exactly. And even if it's not a 12-hour night, you round it out to make. If it's a longer night, you make it a 65-minute hour. Shorter night, a 52-minute hour, whatever it is. Yeah. But so you divide the night into three groups. Each group has 4 hours. And we're going to speak about the energy of each particular one of these three time periods of the night. So, the 12 hours that are engraved, so to speak, in the energetic engravings of the night's parts. And if technically it's a 13-hour night, the additional hours are considered like the day. And are not important. Only the 12, what we need is basically 12 hours somehow of the night. That's what we're concerned about. And again, we need 12 hours. So the Talmud says you get 12 hours by dividing 12 periods. They may not be 60 minutes, but they're 12 periods of equal duration for the course of the night. And we know that, for example, the Milui Otzios, this is a little more complicated, when you spell out God's name, the Adnos, Aleph, Dalet, each letter is spelled out, it's 12.
I don't know. How you get 12? The Grammatica?
Aleph,
It's one.
Aleph, 3. Spell Aleph. You spell out the letter Aleph.
Oh, you spell it. I know you do.
Yeah,
Now I get it.
Milui, yeah.
You spell it. That's I.
Aleph, Dalid, right? Nun, Yud is 12, depending on,
You spell it out through the phonetics.
Yeah, each letter is spelled out completely, or not.
Completely.
Aleph,
The phonetic
Aleph, Lam,
Aleph.
yeah. You pronounce it, instead of just Aleph being 1, it's 3. The Inan Tracer is again, it's complicated, not everybody, so we don't have to get into all the details, but what we're trying to do is showing that each one of the 12 hours of the night is part of the energy of the divine master, Melech, king of the world. The Inan Tracer is Palgu L'Klas Citrin. Then we divide the 12 into 3, as we said before. And there are different camps of angels that are each divided into one of these camps of 3, 3, and 3. Meshaya Kalma, the first camp, they get the first 4 hours of the night, because each of the 3 camps is 4 hours, and they're doing the first round of praises to God. Umakami, what do they say? La Hashem Artz Malo. They say a verse from Psalms, the 24th chapter, first verse in that chapter. It says, "To God is the earth and its fullness." Teva v'yoshveva, ki hu ayamim yisada, because He established it on the seas and on the rivers. Mi yala b'har Hashem and mi yakum b'makim kalcha. Who will go up the mountain of God? Right? Naki chapayim of our levav. Only the pure, naki chapayim, the clean, the pure of heart, the pure of hands, meaning people who haven't sinned, and the pure of heart, people who haven't sworn falsely. And the first 4 hours, they continue that psalm. They praise God. They praise God.